following two stories are shared by Reddit user Ashantes, who is a Mormon missionary, and I had previously done readings of a number of his experiences. 1. Sorry it's been a while, guys. I recently have been working a lot of overtime, and haven't had time to myself until now. 2 weeks go by, and I get to go on exchanges with the district leader. I greatly needed this exchange, and I found it greatly hilarious because my district leader was also training, so we pretty much let two brand new missionaries loose in an area, and my trainee still has no idea what the hell he is doing. The greatest part was that neither of the missionaries were allowed to drive the truck, so it was either bike or walk, and I got more satisfaction out of knowing that than I probably should have. Just in case, I took my keys with me, to remove any temptation they might have had. Anyway, the Globe apartment is right across the street from the graveyard, and I've always been scared of graveyards, so I already wasn't too thrilled about having to spend the night at that place again. After ranting to my district leader about the things I hated about my new companion, and every returned missionary can relate to this, I got a long talking to about how I need to love my companion and try to see him as God sees him, but I just wasn't having it. After a rather easy day of just talking to members and following up on appointments he had the day before, we finally make it back to the apartment and start swapping stories about all the different crazy stories that have happened to us, both on and off the mission. I should tell you that my district leader was 27 and had served 8 years in the Navy, and me being just 20 at the time, I could tell he really couldn't care less about my drama, and he told me multiple times to grow up, which at the time I really didn't want to hear. As I'm sitting on their couch making plans for what I'm going to do tomorrow, I look up because I hear something fall off the counter in the kitchen, and assuming it's my district leader, stand up to see what had happened. When I hear from the bedroom, "Hey, stop breaking things," and right afterwards, see a pitch-black figure walk out of the bathroom and then disappear as it walks past the support beam separating the kitchen from the living room. At this point, I'm not really fazed by seeing this sort of thing anymore, but it still leaves an impression on you every time it does. Shortly afterwards, my district leader walks into the room, seeing me just standing there frozen, asks sarcastically, "What? You look like you've just seen a ghost." After a while of me not answering and just staring at him, I finally say, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you half the shit I've seen." No, the irony was not lost on me saying that to someone who spent 8 years in the Navy. And as I expected, he rolled his eyes and said, "Try me." So we spent the night sharing some stories about more spiritual and paranormal events that have happened to us while on our missions. Most notably, the haunted trailer out in Sholo that he stayed in. Needless to say, finally talking to someone about what had been happening, that actually believed me, was a breath of fresh air. 2. 4 weeks go by. I've been transferred to a new area, and I'm finishing up another missionary's training. His original trainer finished his mission, and I took over. Ironically, his trainer was my companion from the fog incident, so we spent most of our days talking shit about him, and swapping stories about all the stupid things he would do, and girl crazy didn't even begin to describe this guy. Multiple times we'd be in the middle of a discussion, and if the investigator was a girl, she would excuse herself and put a different shirt on after catching him looking at her boobs. A few girls even called him out on it, and would say, "Elder, my eyes are up here," and gesture towards her face. No, I never let him forget those moments, even now, and it's been 3 years. Anyway, nothing happened for about a week, when we were up late, talking trash about our former companion, when a long silence comes out of nowhere. My companion says, "Elder, I need to tell you something. It's about you, and it's been bothering me quite a lot these past couple days." I'm thinking, this is almost a new record of how long it took before I did something to piss someone off. But I hold my tongue and tell him to go ahead, and tell me what I've been doing to upset him. He goes on to tell me that I've been sleepwalking, and that the previous few nights I spent 2 solid hours throwing a sticky brain against the wall, chuckling as it rolled down the wall. He then said this past night, after he had hid the damn thing, that I just stood by his bed, eyes open and glaring at him for a few hours. He said he was terrified that I was going to murder him. Now, I've never had anyone before this tell me I've been sleepwalking, or anything else close to it. I honestly had no idea how to respond to this, and we had no way of actually recording these events except for our cameras, but neither of us had a memory card big enough to record a full night's worth of video, let alone have the time to sit and watch a video of us sleeping to see if anything happened. 2 weeks further into the transfer, we got notified that we were going to test pilot the new iPads for missionary use, and determine if they had a viable option to replace our paper planners and area book. I found out how to get around the security protocols on the iPad within the first 10 minutes of having it, and downloaded an audio recorder app and set it to automatically record anything once it picks up sound, all the while not letting my companion know that I've done so. I was going over the audio recordings a few days later in the morning during personal study, and what I heard will forever be ingrained into my mind. I've since deleted the audio recording because it freaked me out so badly, and I had actually forgotten about it until I found my old mission journals in my parents' garage a few days ago. I recorded the event as follows: 7th October, 2013. I was going over the audio recordings this morning and, well, let's just hope that my companion never hears this. The time is recorded as 2:53 a.m., and it starts off with me rolling around in bed for a few moments. Then I start gasping for air and thrashing around under the covers. The next audio clip starts at 2:59 a.m. with me audibly whispering, "Kill him," and stops recording. He still doesn't know about this to this day. 3. Strap in, cause shit's about to get weird. Also, long post. My dad's house and the Ouija board. So for starters, I've always been extremely sensitive to whatever roams around beyond the veils of our perception. My mom had things follow her around until she died. And while nothing follows me, I tend to pick up on things really easy, and because of that, run into a lot of shit. Anyways, my dad's house isn't really old or anything. It's got 2 stories and an attic. No weird shit until my sister decided to play with the Ouija board in the attic. She didn't close it properly, and because of that, things went south real quick. There was a boy that could be seen, but aside from walking around, he didn't do much. The real problem was this unidentifiable black mass of hate and a woman. The phantom screwed with everyone hard. The feeling of dread that would overcome the room it was in was enough to make you sprint out of the room as fast as you could. Screams would be heard in the attic, and toys and other things would be turned on and shifted around. That went on for a while, and then it got worse, probably because we, my sister and I, were terrified of it. I was young then, and didn't know how to defend myself against this stuff. Soon, it started following us around the house, and I really cannot explain just how powerful the feelings of dread and oppression this thing gave out were. Something was always watching. It put me in a constant state of fight or flight, and I started having constant nightmares. Soon things around the house started moving, violently. Late at night I would hear pounding on the walls, as if it was walking, slowing around the room, slamming a fist on the wall with every few steps. Leftover soda cans, my games, pictures, anything would be knocked off the shelf or flung across the room. If I managed to pass out, I sometimes would be woken up by my bed shaking hard. I mean hard. Enough to bounce me around a bit. It happened to my sister multiple times as well. Also in her room, she left the closet light on because that's where she felt it stayed. Almost every night, the light bulb would unscrew itself, Words started appearing in the mirrors as smudge marks, leave us, die pigs, those kind of things. It would walk up and down the stairs, open doors, just generally being a dick. It never actually hurt us, but it caused a hell of a lot of mental distress. Now the woman. She was different. Her presence was soft, but bitter cold at the same time. A sadness would flow over me when she was near. And she only showed when the black spirit wasn't fucking around. She would stand next to me while I was watching TV or playing the computer. A few times, ice-cold sensations cascaded down my arm, starting at my neck, and I could tell she was touching me. One night my sister and I were smoking cigs at the top of this hill that overlooks our house. You can get a good view of the side door and everything. While we were smoking, we both saw the side door open on its own and then close. And all of a sudden, there she was standing on the deck. We both looked at each other like, "Are you fucking seeing this?" And too scared to move, we just watched. Her image kept shifting and shimmering. It was really flowy. She wore this light blue dress, and her hair is what made her seem so damn scary. It was long, and flowed in every direction. She started moving towards us, half crawling, half phasing through the banister to the ground below the deck. And then she just stood there. And what happened next I'll never forget. I could tell she was looking at me, right at me. Then my hands exploded in pain, just for a few seconds. Enough to bring tears to my eyes, and then, just like that, she was gone. My sister and I stayed on the hill for a good few hours before saying "fuck this" and walking back to go inside. She followed us to the stairs and stopped. We bolted, and both slept in my room that night. These things didn't stop bothering us until my mom left, and later died. I think they were really attached to her, and left with her. She had a lot of negativity she carried around, and they probably fed off that. Fun times. 4. The abandoned prison and my friend's possession. So a good 4 or 5 years later, I make friends with this dude. We'll call him Mike for the sake of anonymity. Now him, like me, is very sensitive to the paranormal. In some ways even more so. I must have been 19 or 20 now. I learned a lot about spirits and ghosts from my aunt who's Wiccan. Learned how to interact with them peacefully, and defend myself if need be. This would be one of those need be moments. There's an abandoned prison where I live in Augusta, Georgia. The place is pretty easy to get into and really neat to walk around. The first floor has some small jail cells with these huge solid iron doors and a lot of floor space. The second floor has moss growing all over the hallways with regular jail cells. And the third floor is burnt out to the point that walking on it would mean death. The basement is dark. I mean dark. It's this little maze of hallways, smooth concrete floor for the floors, walls and ceiling. The rooms have old wooden doors that fall apart when touched, and sometimes it's flooded with water. Now going in the daytime is no problem. It's actually really cool. Nighttime, however, is different. The place is a hotspot of activity. The wind moves in unusual ways, kicking up debris. I had something grab my ankle. It was cold and put a lot of pressure on it. Mike saw a man standing in one of the small cells on the first floor, and on the second, I saw a shadow dance around in one of the larger. As we were walking around the second, we hear this incredibly loud screeching from the first floor, and one of the small cell doors had opened up. We check around and make sure there's no bum stalking around, and then try to move the door. That shit did not budge. So then, we decide it's time to go check the basement. This was a mistake. Even thinking about this now freaks me out. It's like I can still feel it around me. Anyways, we go down, checking things out. And we didn't see or hear anything. but all of a sudden I get chills and my neck hairs stand up. Both Mike and I stop dead in our tracks. At the same time, I just say, let's get the fuck out of here. So we bolt, clamber out the window and head home. Done, right? It's super not. The next day he messages me, saying we have to go back to the jail. He starts talking about all last night. He was having horrible dreams and seeing things in his house. Dark shadows in the corners where there shouldn't be any and such. Then at church, he started hearing incoherent voices, and up in the corner was a shadow figure. Then he sees something dart down the aisle, leaving blood in its wake. So, yeah, we gotta go back to the church and try to apologize or something. He picks me up from my place and we head down there. As we're driving, all of a sudden he yells, "Grab the wheel!" and groans, and his arms slip away from the wheel and his back tenses up real hard. So I grab the wheel and get kinda halfway in his lap and pull the truck over to the side of the road. So we're just sitting there, and he says he can feel it. I grab him, and a rush of fear and dread hits me. I start distracting him. I don't know what's happening. But I figured talking might help. Maybe 15 minutes later, his back loosens up, and he says he's good. Whatever it is gone. So we keep on down the road. We get to the church, and I've got all my tools ready to do the seance. We break back in and go down the basement. We try to apologize to the spirits that we pissed off by entering, and Mike gets sick. He throws the fuck up. So I end up having to trap it with sage and salt and prayer. Say what you will, my aunt taught me well. And that's when we done booked it, and haven't gone urban exploring since then. 5. The Cursed Record. I've got a record player and I love it. One of my favorite artists is Tomita, so I was stoked to find a whole bunch of his records at the second-hand store. Along with them was a dark ambient record. I can't for the life of me remember the name of the artist. Anyways, when I held the record, energy would shoot through my hands, kinda like that feeling when your hands fall asleep. I played it, and it would make me uneasy, but I really liked the music. One night I decided to play it as I went to sleep for the night. I woke up maybe 3 or 4 hours later, and immediately go to the restroom to puke. My head felt like it had a vice pressed around it, and I just felt like shit in general. So I put the record back in its case, and listened to Pink Floyd instead. The next day I go to work and my girlfriend messages me saying she feels really paranoid and uneasy, and keeps seeing people in the corners of her vision. Sometimes they're hanging from the ceiling. So I come home and play the record again just to listen to it and see if anything gets worse. It super does. Something is now in the house and causing horrible feelings and unease. So I call my aunt and ask her what to do. I learned a really important lesson with this one. Not everything is evil. If you perceive it as such, the energy it puts off and enters you gets amplified in a negative way. But if you can look at things from a neutral standing, it can really change how these things affect you. So I did that, and it started feeling more sad than evil. Whatever was in that record, whatever thing had attached itself to it, seemed like it needed help more than it wanted to do harm. So my aunt walked me through a ritual and I ended up bringing the entity into myself. I can't explain the feeling. Immense sadness washed over me and then was gone, and the oppressive feeling in the room with it. I ended up giving the record back to the second-hand shop. Whatever it was gone, but I still wanted no part of it. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Paranormal Stories, Episode 5. I should have mentioned actually while the first 2 stories were shared by Reddit user Ashantes, The following 3 were actually also shared by the same user. User named, let me just check this here, Winged Mammal. I don't usually mention the names in the stories, but since they were by the same person, I thought I should give a personal shout out. So thanks both to Ashantes, and I'm still not sure if I'm even pronouncing that right, and Winged Mammal. Let's see, what day is it? Oh, right, this is Thursday when I'm recording this. You guys should be hearing this on Friday. I've already got the TIFU recorded. For some reason, I did it a bit arse from elbow and recorded Saturdays first. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and clear out Sunday. I'm going to start work on Sunday's video, and that gives me plenty of time that I can just dedicate the next few days to, doing my best with my 30 stories special. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.